So this is all pretty new and exciting. Getting a bit of help with this today, so when Jason gives me the all clear, I'll know that we're doing the right thing, hey? Now, I don't know if I might have stuffed up this screen thing a little bit here. So here we go. So I reckon it's probably a good time to say g'day. My name's Tom. Welcome to Tarn Court. Saturday night, here we are in the dining room by the fire with the scotch in hand and with all our best friends. So I don't know where everyone else is tonight. Feel free to let us know, because it's kind of nice to know that there's a few people out there. And it's nice to see that Marie's joined us too. So if you haven't come across Tarn Court before, it's an old farm where we grow Polworth wool, which we've been doing for a really long time, since about 1840. And the room that we're in now is sort of where a lot of the people that have been involved in Polworth sheep over the years have been before me. So it's nice to have that sort of connection to the yarn as well as the place. And that's kind of what we're all about, is to create a yarn that speaks about the story of a sheep and a place, particularly right here at Tarn Court. So this is very fun, but also a little bit kind of unsettling. So if you've got any comments, or you've got anything to say, if you want to tell me to stop moving my hands around a little bit, please jump in and tell me. That would be really good. But the reason this is happening right now is because last week was going to be the Australian Sheep and Wool Show in Bendigo. So this is an annual event that's been happening for something like more than 150 years, I think. And some of the people behind me on the wall in the dining room here have been going for all of those 150 years. My mum and dad for the last 45 or something. And then all of those people on the wall here that stretch back to 1840, probably back to the start. So in every sense, Sheep Show is a part of our family life. And last Thursday, when we set up ready to go, and then found ourselves having to pack up and go home before we expected, we didn't have that opportunity to enjoy the kind of social side of what Sheep Show's all about. There's obviously trading and yarn sales, which keeps our show on the road, but then there's all those sort of incidental connections that you make with people. Maybe they're sheep breeders, maybe they're crafters, maybe they're people in the wool industry that know much more than you'll ever know. It's all those sort of connections that you foster in the 3 days that Sheep Show rolls on in Bendigo that we missed out on this year. So that's one of the reasons why we're here tonight, is just to kind of fill that gap a little bit, but also just to say hi. I hope everyone's doing well in their respective corners of Australia and the world, and to let you know that we're here at Tarn Court. Things are moving along okay, and we wanted to also run you through our new yarn range, which is something that we were hoping to show the world at Bendigo last weekend. Thankfully, there's this thing called the internet, and when things like Bendigo fail to happen, then we get a chance to still speak to you and show you our yarn and have our yarn for sale online, which I'm very grateful to those people who saw the cancellation of Bendigo as not so much a barrier to their yarn purchases, and were able to get onto our online store and buy that new yarn. So that's what we're going to show you right now. So we get our wool processed. So when I say our wool, brother Al, who lives right next door with Gemma and Pippa and Miles, that's their little baby. So there's now Pippa and Miles and Gemma and Al that grow the Polworth wool here at Tarn Court. And also at the Potters, who have a farm about 10 kilometres away in really high rainfall, classic Otway environment which is well suited to the Polwarth. And in fact, the reason why the Polwarth exists at all is to grow wool in those higher rainfall areas. So wool is grown here, and looks like our live feed has ended on Facebook, but maybe we've still got you on Instagram. So maybe we'll get a bit of IT support on that one, Jason. So I might just take a pause on the Instas, and we might come back to you in 2 or 3 minutes, if that's going to suit you. Hey Insta people, we're just sorting out what's going on Facebook. It's a chance to pick up your knitting, get a few rows in, get a cup up. I'm reaching for the scotch because it's Saturday night, there's a fire on, and this is a one that Katrina at Pearl Yarns recommended. So if you want to unleash your inner pirate tonight, get a Mux and Balvenie. It's the ticket. Also, it's a good chance to rustle up the next act. Right, hey, if we might just put a little post onto Facebook to say, sorry dudes that it ended with the live feed, but maybe they can find us on Instagram, which I hope everyone's sort of able to see us okay with. I can't see you, unfortunately, so if you've got any questions, we might ask Jason to help us out with that. He's very much in the background, but he's here, don't worry about it. So, I was just talking about before that the wool we grow here on the farm, it's been our kind of focus to keep production as local as possible, and in the past that was okay, particularly when Mum and Dad were starting out in the yarn business. They were able to get the whole thing done in Geelong, which was a fantastic exercise in logistics. You know, that's the best part about it all, but also keeping those skills and jobs really close at hand. What we do now is have it scoured, which is the first stage of the process, which is to wash out the lanolin and some of the vegetable matter in Geelong, where there's a mill that's been running for 100 years or so. And then if we're turning it into tops, we'll take it to Bacchus Marsh, not far from Melbourne, where it can be turned into tops and used in hand spinning or felting. But when we're turning it into yarn, we pack it off into a ship to New Zealand, who have very strict biosecurity rules as well. So it's not a very straightforward process, but working with our Kiwi cousins and friends it's fantastic. And being able to have been to the factory and meeting the team behind Design Spun and Skeins as they retail in New Zealand is really beneficial and good relationship. So we enjoy working with them. So to get our yarn spun, it sort of comes back looking like this. This is the taupe on a cone. When we're getting it processed into yarn, we're taking it to a factory in Geelong called Geelong Dyeing, makes sense, and they are just starting out with yarn dyeing, which has been really exciting to work with Tom and his team down there. And so they take wool off this cone, put it onto one of their own cones, which looks like this. It's a plastic thing with kind of mesh holes in it, and then they wrap it around, and their dyeing process relies on sort of high pressure, so they're pushing the dye really evenly through the yarn package, and that then creates a consistency in the colour. It's a different way to how we would normally do it, which is in hank dyeing, and that's how we would have done it in New Zealand. And one of the differences that you notice in that respect is that the yarn is kind of flattened and compressed when it's on this package. So this is the one that's come back from Geelong on its sort of plastic package there. the wool's quite dense here, and it's probably under a little bit more pressure than it would have been if it was in a hank. So as we take it off the cone that comes back from Geelong, it's our job then to put it into the desired meterage, which is usually 50 gram skeins, 100 gram skeins, which we do here at Tundi. But then some of you might have already noticed, if you've already bought some wool and had it delivered, that if it comes straight off the cone, it's really shiny, and it's a little bit sort of narrow, if that's the right word, but maybe kind of, well, it's compressed fibre. So it feels a little bit skinnier than what it really is. So as it's worked, and particularly we've worked out that steaming is the best way to deal with this, as it's worked and ages and it's rested and relaxed as a yarn, then those fibres open up. It's called blooming, and some of the luster and shininess comes off, but also the yarn becomes quite plump, and it sort of starts to feel more like its natural state as a yarn. So a bit hard to see in this respect, but it will sort of increase in size. So if you have ordered some recently and it feels less like a 4-ply or an 8-ply, and possibly feels like it's something skinnier, fear not, it's just that yarn is going to relax and become a plumper yarn. The reason being that it comes from a different sort of dyeing process. So there's the sort of technical, boring stuff. Let's get into the colour. So what the sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? The motivation, the creative brief, I don't know. Why did I come up with these colours? Was that we have a very nice natural shade of yarns, and then we've got this complementary earthy tone of yarns, which was Origins that we released about 4 years ago. And now we want to do something a little bit sort of more bright and jewel tone, which has a different sort of role in garments altogether. The nice thing about it though is that they can still complement, particularly those natural colours. Looking around us is the first place to find colour inspiration, and so we've got a nice garden around here at Tarnmulgort, full of birds and flowers, trees, some bugs and moss and stuff like that. So starting at that point, thought, well, let's just pluck out a really nice range of 8 colours that's going to work not only with each other but with our original natural colours. Also very lucky to have engaged with a couple of really great crafters from Lara a couple of years ago, Faye and Ashley Littlehales, who did some beautiful work in putting together some colourways that reflect the interiors of this place, the homestead itself. And in that process, they came up with some really great samples on our yarn, not only in white, but also in the taupe natural colours that provided a good rundown of what we can achieve. So we use the taupe base, so that's this one here, the base for 3 of the colours, and that then gives us this kind of, it starts off quite dark and a hint of a heather effect to it. So we're just going to try and get a bit more light on the case here as I mix. I don't know if you can kind of see that too well. Moss, nice mossy kind of one on the taupe, has that sort of tonal variation in it in 4-ply and 8-ply. Taupe base again. And this is a mallard is a duck, and the drake of that species has that beautiful teal kind of thing around the head. We used to have these ducks hanging around the back door of the house when we were kids because Mum and Dad, being the kind of pseudo hippies, realised that ducks were really good for their garden to eat all the snails, but they also just pooed all over the back step. So sort of plus minus points on the mallard as a childhood memory, but as a colour, it's been really popular. So we will get some more in the future of the 4-ply for anyone who's hanging out for that. It's been really great to have that support on the 4-ply. 8-ply still around. Hedge Berry Red. So the name sort of comes from the fact that we have a very old orchard hedge the orchard itself is gone, but the hedge made out of hawthorn trees is still with us, and once a year these beautiful berries come out in this colour. And so the berries of the hedge, right here. A couple of other ones which were dyed on the white base, so it doesn't have that same sort of tonal variation, but they're still really beautiful colours. So blue wren, there's so many of those nice little birds kicking around the garden here, and so that's the nice breast of the male. Old rose, and apologies to Bendigo Woolen Mill, I've noticed that there's actually an old rose colour and not the name, and I think actually the colour is pretty similar. So obviously great minds think alike. In this case, they're just literally outside the dining room window, and I didn't have to think too hard to think of a name for that one. We're still on the 8-ply here. This is Mulberry, which is the colour of your fingers after you've been picking what's left of the mulberry trees after the crows leave you some. They're a really tough plant. They've been growing here for such a long time with zero care, and the fruit is just so good in December, January. Oak leaf. So that period of the year in autumn when so many of the oaks around here start to drop their leaves, it goes through this little patch of sort of golden amber, just a lovely colour. Banksia are those beautiful structural cones or flower spikes that are golden and terrific, and that's yellow. Right, I think that's 8. Right, here's a few just in 4-ply as well. So there's 8 colours. They come on that 4-ply, 8-ply base, and we have them available as 50 and 100 gram skeins. So I hope that you've had a chance to look through them, and for anyone who's bought on the weekend, I hope you get some really great products out of that. If anyone's had a go at it, I'd be really keen to see what you think of the yarn itself. You might have had a chance to get it onto your needles, and we're just working out that this being our first sort of live event, Diggy, that if you do have any questions at all or observations, jump in the comments box, I think it is, and just do this, just, type in your question. So somebody's asked a question, and thank you for that. How's Daisy and her new babies? Daisy is a treat. I thought I brought across her fleece. I didn't. It's still over in the wool shop. Daisy is about 9 years old, and she has just had twins, but it wasn't a planned thing. In fact, the ram was like a couple of paddocks over, but Daisy has this power that summons all that she wants, and so I think she sent out some sort of special bat signal to this ram and said, over here, let's go, and here we have 2 little twins. So she's amazing, a powerhouse of a woman, and so we've now got 2 little white twins that have popped out of her. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for the question. The next thing we wanted to talk about was any of your projects. So if you've been working on something that you're willing to share some information about, maybe the pattern, what sort of yarn you've been using, you can either type it into the comments section, or otherwise there's a hashtag, Tundi Polworth, which is a great way to share images of garments that have been made with our yarn. So really keen to see what you've been up to. We've got some stuff here that we were going to have on display in Bendigo to show you what other people have been making with our yarn. So thank you very much to those people that have offered their garments to be on show. And so I'm just going to run you through a few of them in a minute. Got to have a quick drink. Here we go, someone's come up with a super question. If we wanted to do stripes, would the white silk wool mix work well with the new colours? So the 4-ply is the same thickness in yarn, so from that perspective that'd work really well. A thing that we're seeing a little bit at the moment is running 2 strands together. I don't know, maybe putting the white with running it. No, you're asking about stripes. Yeah, short answer, 4-ply. That would work. If you wanted to do something with the Eva alpaca and Polworth mix, that's an 8-ply, and that'll work really nicely with the 8-ply. I reckon that Eva in the grey and this pink would be bang on. Can we visit the farm shop? At the minute not. At the minute we're all sitting in our little 5 square kilometre thingy, but we will... Yes. What's the answer? Who knows the answer to this? But our intention certainly is to reopen and have visitors back here. We are doing some works to the site as well at the moment, which does add a layer of kind of logistics that might mean that we don't fully open at all hours, but we certainly want to be available to people to come and see us. So there is an appointment calendar on our website that, now that I think about it, might not be up to date this week with current lockdown, but you can certainly make an appointment to come and visit us. So we'd love to see you here. Those regular business hours before lockdown were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 10 till 1, and we'll aim to get back to that on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But otherwise, make an appointment via our website to come and say good day. And Sam from the Little Stitch wanted to say to everyone that she's coming to stay soon. So that is a terrific little segue to say you can visit the farm shop. You can also come and stay on the farm. We've got 2 accommodation places where you can come with your family, on your own, with your friends. There's a 2-bedroom option and a 1-bedroom option. And it's a great way to kind of dive deep into the wool story. So thanks, Sam, and we can't wait to see you again. So let me just show you what some of these projects are that, and we won't keep you for too much longer, only 3 or 4 minutes. So I mentioned that we had the Origins range, which is compared to the new jewel tones of the Gardens range. They're more sort of subtle earthy tones. Now I'm going to just grab the right notes here. This one is Moonlight Garden, which is by a pattern by Melody Hoffman. And so Karen Wool Gathering has knitted this, Karen Piotr has knitted this in 8-ply terracotta rose. And I'm not sure the best way to kind of demonstrate this, but it's a real ripper with the different sort of stitches in it. Guessing it starts here, moves out that way, and then a bit of a jigger-jagger on the edge. That's right, a jigger-jagger, that thing there. So that's really great piece of work, Karen. So that was called Moonlight Garden, and if anyone's keen on getting these pattern names, you can certainly chuck them in the notes. Here's a topical number for the moment. It's cold, and so I'm sure everyone's got a hot water bottle. What Anne has done with this one, which is called Patchwork Potty Cover by Heather Maid, is to run it with a mohair. So it's an 8-ply, run with 1 strand mohair to create that sort of fuzzy effect. So that's a cool idea, isn't it? To add something to the yarn to create quite a different effect. So Polworth is a great base layer, a great base material. So in this case, adding that 1 strand of mohair, you've got the luxe kind of factor of the mohair, but the sturdiness and durability of Polworth. So a really good effect. Back on the 8-ply, this is lime mortar, and Karen has made a curl by Emily Louis in this sort of cow bizzo. So cow, whoa, nice, huh? In just a really simple kind of rib situation. Apparently you guys are loving the descriptions of the stitches. That's good. Did someone say that or did I say that? The jigger jagger. Righto. This is a monster, an absolute monster of a piece here. So this one Karen has knitted up is called Rue Montaigne and the pattern's by Andrea Petroni. And this is just in our cream, natural cream. I think I need to step back 1,000 steps to kind of get the full effect. I'm going to chuck my Uggies in the mix too. So just a tiny little bit of Eva amongst a swath of 8-ply cream. And so again, you tuck that one around your shoulders and you keep very warm. And I feel like you could probably sail a boat with this if you lost a sail. You could run it up the mast and off you go. So it's really nice. So that name again, and there's that real detail in there, is called Rue Montaigne by Andrea Petroni. So Karen in Melbourne has done a supreme job in these pieces. There's another brilliant one, and this is a really lovely moment that's brought us this jumper, which is a rituals sweater, and so the designer is Jorge Locatelli. So Suzanne, who knitted this jumper, came to stay with us in the cottage recently, and she arrived wearing it, and that to me is that's the business, isn't it? Being able to bring your very clothing to the source of its origin, I think is a pretty special thing, and it's what kind of drives us a little bit in what we do, is that we can kind of see the products of the work that we do here. So Suzanne, thank you so much for sending us this in, and this is done in terracotta rose and lime mortar, and it's a really beautiful jumper. So the name of that again was Rituals by Jorge Locatelli. And it was lovely to have Jorge visit Tandy a couple of years ago. So it's nice that not only the knitter but the pattern designer and the grower and the guy in between can kind of be all a part of the process here. I reckon that's probably my samples. I think there were some that I forgot to bring. The whole time I was supposed to be scaling up yarn and making use of my hands, not sort of throwing them around. So while anyone's got any questions, and I think there might be one about the dyeing process, I think we sort of touched on it a bit at the start, but the dyeing process is with acid dyes, so chemical dyes done in Geelong at a place called Geelong Dyeing, and if the name doesn't give it away, that's what they do. They dye wool. So yeah, their process is using highly pressurized liquor to push through the fibres on this package here, so through the middle and then here, and then forcing the dye onto the yarn. So it's nice that we can do that locally in Geelong, so that's just up the road from Tandy, about 40 minutes. And we know that there's certain things that processes that are done overseas that can't be done in Australia because of our EPA regulations. So I think we can take comfort in the fact that we've got oversight of all of the dye processes and chemicals and things like that, when they're done on our own soil and subject to our own sort of regulations and things. So that might be a factor. So we've just made the note there. I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but the yarn can appear skinnier when you get it than what you might expect in a 4-ply. But I did mention earlier that once that yarn relaxes, and so once it's come off the cone that it's dyed in, it's going to sort of expand a little bit. and it'll take off some of the colour. It's not so shiny, but it means it'll be a bit more plumper. So we do that with steaming here. Unfortunately this weekend when we didn't have quite enough time to steam everything, we did send out a little bit before it had a chance to be steamed. But if you want to have it go at that, you can steam it. It's always best to knit up a little swatch before your garment anyway, and then wash it and see how it's going to work out before you jump into the whole shebang. Is the wool soft enough to wear next to your skin? Is a great question. So yes, short answer, yes. So we run at about 22 micron. There's all sorts of different wools in the world, and they have different purposes. And the lower the micron number, if we're sitting at 22, the lower that goes, and so it kind of goes down to as little as 11 in those like super fine merinos. The comfort factor increases, so it becomes, it's soft. You don't even notice it's there. The higher that number goes, you can expect, it's not always the case, but you can expect that comfort factor to increase. So at 22, we reckon bang on. Wear it on your head. I'm wearing this jumper here. Actually, is one that I've had for a bunch of years. I've sat by this fire on live before and showed you this jumper, and it's had a real workout lately. I just wanted to show you that it's still around, and it's my trusty favourite in winter. So for next to skin, absolutely give it a go, and I think you'll enjoy it. The green Sam. So there's two greens, and hopefully we can kind of get this colour to kind of show up correctly. So there's one called Moss on 8 ply, and there's one called Mallard, which is kind of a teal, and because it's on the taupe base, there's kind of a real life to the colour where there's little slight tonal variations. It's almost heathered. Hopefully that's got you going. So that's kind of where we're at, guys. There's so much that I can tell you about that's going on here and everywhere else. Oh, here we go. Here's a knitted product. Jason has just pulled that off his head, and that's the Banksia. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. We've got a new natural colour, which is called Ash. So that's that one there. It's a sort of slightly lighter taupe with the from the old range origins. So a nice kind of bit of colour combo going on there. And so this one was knitted by Joanne, who's Jason's aunt, in Colac here. So awesome work, Joanne. So yeah, our natural taupe there is a good one to go with all these colours. Bang on. Righto. Look, we really appreciate having your time tonight. It's nice to share a little bit of non-Bendigo, hanging out at the stall, having a chinwag kind of moment. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. At least you got your knitting, your crochet, your yarn. You got stuff to get into. I think you go a little bit mad if there wasn't something to keep your hands busy. So stay well, wear your mask, do all that sort of stuff, and we hope to see you out here one time. See ya.